10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Good luck, studio.
And now, another really exciting episode of the Shy Life podcast.
Oh, it's the Shy Life podcast.
All I wanted was a pie, and then I hatched out of an egg.
Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
It's the quiet ones you've got to watch, you know.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep? Is it deep?
Boy, he's not all that shy, is right.
Blimey, Governor, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Excellent.
536.
Hello, campers. How are you?
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Shy Life podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti. How are you doing? I'm all right. Gosh, so what's going to be going on this episode? Well, we're going to be talking about TV, but, it was sort of inspired by something that happened recently. Let me try and think how to put it into a brief sort of explanation. Well, Cromitty's friend Milo was getting rid of a load of DVDs, and rather than just send them straight to charity, he thought that perhaps we ought to have a look at them first to make sure there's nothing that we would like. And but the trouble is, getting a load of DVDs from one side of London to where I live wasn't that easy. So I talked to my people, Cromitty talked to his people, and in the end, our good friend Warren, he offered to come and pick up the DVDs and bring them over to my place. And whilst he was there, I sort of thought, well, you know, we've got these DVDs here. If you see any you like, then you should have some as well. And anyway, it was a lovely chat, and you'll hear it in just a moment. But obviously, Yeti Uncle John was about, so it wasn't plain sailing. But anyway, I'll stop nattering. Let's run that theme music, and when we come back, you'll hear all about what occurred.
Darling, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Yes, but it's a positive thing, boy. The High Life, the Shy Life.
You won't find a cast of characters like this everywhere.
Hello, Paul.
I'll go anywhere but potato.
Delicious.
This particular episode of the Shy Life is a little more abstract than usual.
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh, I hope he hasn't found out my secret. You think he has?
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Oh, I can't wait for it to begin.
It's the Shy Life podcast.
Watch out, everybody. I think Paul's got a really big shoe for today.
Yeah, I am strangely drawn to Yeti Uncle John's ankles as well.
Has the Shy Life podcast slowed down? I don't think so.
It's all gooey and meaty and yum, 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 yum.
Well, Paul, I hope it's okay. You know, there are quite a few boxes, but I'm sure you've got a lot of these. But I know that you like your physical media. I do, Cromitty. I do. I guess it's nice that Milo's been able to clear a space. Oh, yes, he's cleared a space. But, I hope you see something you like. And, if not, we can take it to charity. Yes. Oh, here comes Warren. Warren, how are you doing?
Hi, Paul. Hello, Cromitty.
Oh, Warren, it's so kind of you to pick up the tapes, and because we would have struggled, and we would have had lots of carrier bags. It would have been a nightmare.
Oh no, they split. You don't want anything splitting on you, do you?
No, it's not good.
You have seepage.
Oh, nasty. Cromitty, it's going to take Warren and I a little while to look through these, but But do feel free to put the kettle on and bring us cups of tea as we chat. Oh, yes. Oh, I'll do that. Oh, good. Right, Warren, where should we start? I don't know.
Let's have a fertile in
I'm
here.
just going to move this DVD out of the way because I've got a new DVD that arrived of a new TV series, and I don't want that getting in the wrong pile. So.
Okay. If you open the flaps, if you lie the flaps back, we can have a look inside.
Yes.
Can't we?
Yes. It's all.
Should that be there?
I'm not sure. We might have to put that one aside. Anyway,
Definitely.
I didn't know.
It's worth a second view, that one.
That's what, if you wanted. I mean, anyway. Yes. So what's? I just don't know. I don't know what Milo's taste in TV was. But I mean, I disapprove because getting rid of physical media. What is the man thinking? But
absolutely.
But
he's down with the youngsters. You see, with us going on, they like it all being fed to them through a stream, don't they?
Yeah, through a straw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, this DVD that I'm putting on the side. Have you ever seen Dexter? About the
is this the serial murderer?
Yes.
No, I've never seen it. It's never seen it at all. I've heard of it, but never seen it.
It is good, but it finished. Can't remember how many seasons there were now. There were 7, 8, something like that, and it finished a few years ago. And I did watch it all, but I don't know. I think some fans weren't happy that it ended how it did, which was a sort of I don't think...
Wasn't he killed by a serial killer in the end?
No, he wasn't killed. He went. Well, I think. Now I think about it, because it's been a while since I saw it. I think that's what people thought had happened, or people in the series thought that he was dead, but the viewers saw that he'd actually survived. And they've just done a limited season, like an extra season called New Blood, and I just bought it the other day. It's for 10 episodes, so I'm interested to see how they take it.
New Blood for Young Blood.
Yes. Well, I don't know. He doesn't look like he's aged 10 years, but maybe maybe it isn't as much as 10 years. But I think it says on the back that it's set as if it was 10 years later. So yeah, it's weird. Like, shows don't really necessarily stop these days, do they? Or they stop and then somebody decides, oh well, we'll just bring them back.
They have a horrific accident. They go to hospital and then they take the bandages off and they look completely different.
That happened in Sons and Daughters. The plastic surgery happened because someone was trying to change their identity so they wouldn't be. But the actress who took over, although she was a very good actress, I think she was supposed to be significantly shorter. So they obviously lopped off her ankles as well.
And they did that in They Keep Killing Steed as well. The Tara King story.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one for a while. It's a shame but that reminds me of what's that Avengers episode, which is one of my favourites. I should remember it. When Mrs. Peel and Steed swap with the baddies.
Oh, Who's Who?
Who's Who? Yeah. I really like that one because they get to be different. They get to Patrick gets to play something slightly different than usual, and it's a fun one. It's probably one of the ones I go back to most. But I find with the colour Diana Rigg season of Avengers, it's all good fun, but I wouldn't want to watch it back to back, like watch 5 episodes in a day, because if you get the wrong part of the season, each story is quite formulaic, and you can kind of hit the same marks, throughout the episode. I think.
Well, it's very much like that. You dip into an Avengers episode, and you're going, "Oh, yeah, I know what part I'm in," even if you weren't to tell me how long it and put a blindfold on me and do things so I couldn't know where I was. You always knew where you were when you arrived inside an Avenger episode.
But then there are a few that season which don't follow that formula. It's just a shame that they sort of all come towards the end, and there's some quite different ones with when they get shrunk down, and the one where they're doing like a treasure hunt. They don't follow the same formula, but it's a shame that they didn't mix them. It's like that season isn't stirred properly.
It needs something to sort of bring the effervescence out, give it a good old boil, as the French say. Let it bubble, froth and bubble.
Of course, you wouldn't have seen it like that back in the day, though, would you? It would have been a week between. It's just these days where you sit down and you kind of think, I'm just going to watch 6 of them in a row, which is...
I think sometimes that can ruin TV so much. You're sitting there. Would you sit and drink 6 bottles of wine? No,
not 6.
Well, why would you bilge? Why would you binge? Oh, you're going to be bilge by the end of it. But why would you binge 6 6-episode TV program. I can understand if it's like a continuing saga, like something like 24 or one of that sort of ilk.
So, funnily enough, there's a season of 24 down in that box. Did you ever see 24? Did you?
Is there? I haven't seen 24 for years.
My flatmate, who only just left when the pandemic, Callum, he bought a lot of box sets and then would sort of pass them on to me. And I'm pretty sure that it was him who, I might be wrong with Dexter, certainly with Lost, and he definitely watched that before I did and passed them on. And 24, I think I started watching. I can't remember what season I got to, but I find sometimes, because those were, was that back in the day when it was like 22 episodes a season still?
24 episodes a season, that was, yeah.
Yeah. And
I watched, yes. Unfortunately, I'm guilty of sitting up to the early hours of the morning because I've got the box set, the entire lot, and going, just one more. Just one more. It's work in the morning. I'll be fine.
Yeah. A lot of these series is, you can have good seasons and bad seasons. It's whether they're bad enough for you to go and not going to watch the next one, or whether you whether you sort of because things like American Horror Story, there's been times when I've really hated a season, and when I thought, well, I'll watch the next one, because with that I guess it's different because you don't know quite what they're going to do next time around. But I do find a lot of TV these days, they maybe have given them a certain amount of episodes and then they don't know how to fill the space, and you just wish they'd better if they'd have dropped a couple of episodes. But
or didn't have such two-dimensional characters.
Yeah,
because they get even in 24 they had some really cracking characters, some support characters, but some of them in the support character were just so cardboard, and it was such a shame because they didn't give them any depth. The last season's set in Britain, isn't it? It's set in London.
Yeah, was that? Did I imagine it, or did they come back after not doing them for ages, and then do a shorter season or something? Is that or was that another one?
Yeah, that's the one. I think they talked him into doing a conclusion, because in the end he's arrested, isn't he? And taken. Well, he does a swap, doesn't he, and goes off to Russia to stand trial for a murder which the Russians think he committed when he didn't.
I don't think I got that far, but I do have it. So.
Yeah, it's the only reason I know it, because the last scene is, I knew where the last scene was filmed in this disused mill just outside Uxbridge, and the helicopters are taking off, and I was about in the area when they were filming that.
Yeah.
And I can remember these helicopters keep coming down and taking off, coming down and taking off. I thought, what the heck is going on? Yeah. And somebody said, they're filming 24.
I'd have been in London sort of when they filmed it as well. I can sort of remember it. That's why I sort of remember it being where I worked was sort of where a lot of the embassies were. So and also I guess I kind of worked to a certain extent in Avengers Land in that I worked
the ministry.
Well, what I mean, I guess, is we were working in Belgravia. There are a lot of those places like little Mews streets and like where Steed lived, and people would have chases. And
Bryanston Mews is one of the favourite ones for the television companies to use, with the archway at the end. I like those kind of mews.
I can't remember whether I did work like literally by one. I know I certainly worked near ones that looked like the ones in, but I have seen Belgrave Square on films, and I was just around the corner from where Upstairs Downstairs was.
Eaton Place.
Yeah. Although I guess that was mainly only on episodes where they walked up to the door rather than most of it would have been done. Although the college that I worked at was used in the last episode, because I think they had a wedding and they needed a bigger space, and we used to have photos down in the archives from they weren't taken from behind the scenes, they were just ones we were given, I presume, because it was a long time before I started working there, but we had a few sort of photos to and I did go, and that's one of the reasons I kind of ended up watching upstairs, downstairs was, well, I ought to as I work in that area. But anyway, can you see anything in this box that you like the look of?
Oh yes. Get my hands around that. Can I just pull this out?
Yes, please do. Yes.
Mind the end of it. Whitechapel.
Oh, I like that. Yes.
Yes, it's a lovely series, isn't it? However, it does suffer at the end, but I do like the first series. I'm a great fan of the first series, where they all set off in the hunt for Jack the Ripper. But it's not quite as you think it is it?
As it might appear.
It's that modern take. It's 2009, I think it was. The modern take of what happened in Whitechapel Police Station when these mysterious murders took place, and the team were going, "Oh no, someone's coming forward and saying it's Jack the Ripper again, or someone copying Jack the Ripper." And it ended up being sort of a descendant of Jack the Ripper in a certain way, that he's following his ways, isn't it?
Yeah. It's one of those shows that I did like the later seasons as well. They started having sort of a bit of a story arc, and there was a mysterious character played by Angela Pleasance,
Donald's daughter. Yes. Well, I never no.
And it almost seemed to sort of have got to the stage of where it could definitely have gone on, whereas I think perhaps there was a point, perhaps after the first or second season, where we weren't quite sure what they were going to do. Were they just going to do sort of their own versions of things that link to real life crimes, or where were they going to go? And then they kind of seemed to find a sort of a direction. And I feel like the stories, there were some standalone stories, or I might be wrong about that. It's been a while since I saw it, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah, the second season was about two brothers who thought they were the illegitimate children of the Krays. I think that sort of... I was about to say, I think that stretches credulity somewhat, but then again, I'm thinking somebody pretending they're Jack the Ripper does as well. But I like the premise. The premise is really good. It's a lovely take on sort of a police drama, and it could easily have fallen down into the boring police drama again. Oh, it's a buddy team. There's a little bit of friction between a couple of them, and it's more than that in this. It's just more than that, which is lovely. And
it was a really, really sort of good main cast as well. Wasn't there a guy who'd been in Spooks? There was the main guy,
Rupert
Penry. Yeah, it's Rupert Penry Jones. Oh, he's Angela Thorne's son. From To the Manor Born.
Oh, really?
And
never knew that. Literally never knew that.
Peter Penry Jones, who's a Welsh actor, but I'm not sure what he was in. Colditz. General Hospital, Father Brown, 70s version.
General Hospital. You see, all I remember from General Hospital is the closing titles of the ambulance driving around these lanes when you get a shot from above. That's all I remember. I only ever saw General Hospital if I was off from sick at school.
I don't know. He seems to have quite small parts, so maybe she was more well known than he.
Really?
Maybe she was more well known than he was. Well, it just says he's playing like a manager, or he's playing, rather than having a named character. So I wonder if he wasn't like a main. He wasn't necessarily playing him. Just says like he's playing a surgeon, or
man
he's playing
with small parts.
Yeah, he has got some. Some of them he's got named parts. He's in Ruth.
Yes, named parts. He's a lucky man.
He's did some Ruth Rendell. He was in a Bergerac. Bergerac's another one I like, of course. I think if you look over there, you'll see we have two sets of Bergerac. One for casual, one for best. But
Ooh.
Although I was very pleased the other day, I went round a friend's house and they had BritBox, which I don't because I don't see much point because, I have
most of it's on the shelf.
But I was pleased to see that Bergerac is actually on. And he was saying that he was talking about Midsummer Murder, and I said, if you're watching Midsummer Murder, you definitely have to watch Bergerac because he.
I think I prefer Bergerac to Midsummer Murder.
Yeah, and I actually said, kind of, after a little bit snoopy, I have watched some Midsummer Murder, but I sort of said to him, "Oh, what?" He said, "Oh, I've watched an episode of Midsummer Murder," and I said, "Oh, what era?" And he said, "Oh, John Nettles. I wouldn't watch anything which isn't John Nettles." Going back to, I've got my Wikipedia here. We'll never get this box sorted. Oh yes, it was a horror program I watched called The Strain, and he barely tell it was Rupert Penry-Jones because he had like lots of prosthetics and he was playing this sort of vampire type guy, but he was in it quite a lot, and he must have almost gone into doing it because I saw it on the Disney Channel, but it was already old. It was made from 2014 to 2017, and it was interesting and a slightly different sort of take on vampires, and it had David Bradley in it, and I think he must have pretty much done that between his two appearances on Doctor Who. So it's amazing how many of these American shows have either Australian or British leads, and sometimes you wonder what happened to them because you haven't seen them on the British TV for ages. But oh yes, I remember his character in Whitechapel was called D.I. Joseph Chandler. So
that's right. Yes, it was. Yes.
What?
And of course, you got the great Phil Davis in there as well, haven't you? Who's just about been in everything in the late 70s, early 80s, from sitcoms to things like The Professionals to Police. He usually plays a baddie, actually.
And of course, it had Steve Pemberton, which
his first sort of serious role, wasn't it?
Whitechapel is 2009, 2013. So he must have, when that finished, then gone off to America to do The Strain. But I'm going to have to watch it all again. I've definitely got all 4 seasons, but so I don't know if you want. I don't know if you want the copy in the box.
Please, I wouldn't mind that copy in the box if that's
I've
okay.
I've really got it somewhere in my my collection. But yes,
your back catalogue.
Property. Yes, Paul. Warren, would you like a cup of tea or coffee?
Oh, Cromarty, that's very kind of. Are you making one, Cromarty? Only if you're dipping it in your bag in your mug.
Would you like tea? Or
tea would be lovely, please.
How do you take it?
1 lump of milk and no sugar, please. 1
lump of milk, no sugar, please, Cromarty. Okay, and do your usual. Thank you. That's good. That's good. How are you doing in there? Oh, we're talking up a storm about old TV, but we've made some decisions and some things we're not keeping, but we've got a long way to go yet, so we better get to it. If you'd just like to sort out the drinks. Of course, Paul. Yes, all right.
Thank you, Cromarty. Thank you very much. We'll get our hands on your box now.
Yes, exactly. Oh dear. I think we should have a little rest. I've got something I was going to suggest. Yeah. I thought you might find this fun. I found this website the other day, which was like sort of the things that happened on British TV in different years, and I thought that we might be interested to see whether we agreed or whether we were like, well, they didn't mention that, or horrified that they did mention something. But I don't mind what year. I wonder how far it goes back. Actually, it goes right. Oh gosh, it goes right back to 1926. But I don't think we'll get much information. You might want to.
I don't think I can remember that far back.
No, you might want to. You might want to choose a year in the 60s or 70s and see what it thinks happened.
1977 was a good year because it was after that long hot summer. And you wouldn't have been about
I was.
Paul, because you're a young fellow. You're a young fellow.
I was. Apparently, 1977, BBC One airs its first showing of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which come out in 1971.
Well, there's not much you can say to that if they're airing their Willy Wonka.
On New Year's Day as well.
Well, goodness, that's kicking the year off and making its mark, isn't it?
This is quite... I'm not going to read all of them because there's a few, but in February, it was the sort of beginning of Aardman Animations, because Morph made his first appearance on Take Heart, which listeners, that was a children's programme, a very artistic children's programme with somebody called Tony Hart, and Morph was a little man. That was sort of the beginnings of Aardman, and leading to Wallace and Gromit, etc. So.
That was young Peter Lord, wasn't it? Of Aardman Animations.
Oh, this is weird. Also in February, the British TV premiere of Thunderball. That's like...
Really? 77? Yeah. Oh, no, because the rules were... Yeah, that's right, because in the rules were... It was... whereas we sort of show things in a sort of 2 or 3 years, it was almost 9 years before you were allowed to show films, big feature films.
Yeah, and now it's weird. Like, I mean, I didn't much enjoy it, but when I saw the recent Death on the Nile, it was on Disney Plus or something, and it's actually still available in some cinemas. I don't know whether it was released like some films they release streaming and at the cinema at the same time, particularly since the pandemic. But yeah, things have really changed. I remember when it took at least 6 months for a film, or maybe a year. If you'd seen a film at the cinema and you wanted to get a copy, you'd have to wait a good year or 6 months.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, before they came out in video, in Betamax or VHS.
Apparently, in February 1977, Michael Grade was appointed director of programmes at London Weekend Television.
I think he was responsible for the South Bank show, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And Melvin Bragg sticking baby's bottle up one of his nostrils.
Well...
anyway, I digress.
Top Gear began in April 1977.
Oh, with Angela Rippon.
And Tom Coyne.
I was watching a clip of that the other day. Mm-hmm. Her driving her Capri. Yes, the first episode of Top Angela Rippon. That's a really good pub quiz question, that, isn't it? Who's the first presenter of Top Gear? And
apparently it wasn't. It was just local. It was only in BBC Midlands. Until 1978. So for the first season or whatever, it was regional TV.
Well, they didn't have a motoring show on the BBC before that.
Oh, another. Angela Rippon was very busy. In May, she presented the 22nd Eurovision Song Contest in London.
Wow!
Oh, is that because? Oh yeah, 77, because we won in 76 with Save All Your Kisses For Me. So
did we really? Is that ours? I didn't know that was ours.
Yes. We have to take.
Oh dear! Of course, it's Jubilee year as well, isn't it? Which is quite appropriate, really.
Yeah,
because it's Jubilee year this year as well.
I might even get this episode out around that sort of time as well.
I can remember the silver buses. Because all these buses were painted silver for the Queen's Silver Jubilee.
I can't remember that much about that. I can remember more like things like Charles and Di getting married and things like that. But a couple of 2 or 3 years later. But
I dressed as a Mexican. We had to dress up as Charles and Di thing. We had to dress up as in fancy dress, and I dressed up as a Mexican.
Because Prince Charles is notoriously a Mexican.
He is. Deep down he's Mexican. And there were people dressed like Mickey and Minnie Mouse, and on I shuffle with a colourful blanket round me, a sombrero, some water bottle that we got on holiday when we were in Tunisia, and a drawn-on moustache. It was terrible. I remember that.
Apparently, in 1977, our song was Rock Bottom, written by Lindsay DePaul. And
now there's a name from the past, isn't there? Lindsay DePaul.
Yeah. It came second, so I do remember that song.
Wow. That's when we could actually do things on the Eurovision.
Yeah, and we'd won the year before as well. So,
probably because nobody wanted to broadcast it that year.
Yeah. Apparently, I guess that's right. When the Jubilee was going, Coronation Street did their own Jubilee parade with people dressing up.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
I think I've seen that episode.
Is that where somebody was Britannia?
Yeah, Annie Walker
was Annie Walker.
Annie Walker was, or Annie. Well, it says Annie Walker was Queen Elizabeth I, but I know somebody was, kind of like Pat Phoenix or somebody like that was Britannia probably, or what's her name? The barmaid.
Oh yes, yeah. I watched an episode with her the other day, actually. I haven't watched any Corrie for years, other than the one that I watched the other day, but I haven't seen any old Corrie. Yeah, Actually, I like old Corrie. I don't like new Corrie. There's too many characters.
I did watch it for most of the noughties, and probably all of the noughties, and some of the tens, and then I went away. Then I came back when there was a really good serial killer, and then I went away again. Yeah.
There's always a serial killer. There's either somebody trying to shove someone under a pram, somebody trying to hit somebody with an iron. Oh, that was EastEnders.
Oh, this was a really good serial killer, really long term, like who was in it for quite a few years, and we all knew about it, but the people on the street didn't. But I was like that when the viewers are kind of like, oh, we're seeing all this stuff that the characters aren't seeing.
Gosh, Ken Barlow's still alive.
He is. Yeah. Yeah, I also have to remember, because I think he's 90 in real life, but I always remember that but Ken is about 5 years younger than him, so he's always, and because he's quite well preserved, he can get away with playing 5 years younger than he is.
Ron Seal, it does exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah. What else have we got in 77? The Krypton Factor.
Gordon Burns.
Yes.
Gordon Bennett.
The Krypton Factor, listeners, was like running and jumping TV show where they were running and jumping up things and competing against each other and swinging off stuff.
We had an agility and we had a, general knowledge, and we had a sort of logic test, didn't we? Which always looked bizarre, where you had to build things out of blocks a lot of the time. Yeah,
I think I sort of mentioned it when I was talking around the archives about the adventure game. I think I might have mentioned to Toppy that there was a show called The Krypton Factor, and that it was sort of had elements that were familiar to the adventure game, but it was a bit more. It
was a very highbrow program, really.
Don't know what it is that I just remember. I remember the climbing and jumping bits, but yeah, as you say, it was a lot more than just climbing and jumping. But
you always liked it when people went down the death slide and fell in the water, didn't they?
Yeah, it's probably what stuck in my head, really.
Yeah, I love those bits.
But, then we've also got It'll Be Alright on the Night, which was a bloopers show. That was the first time it was aired, was 1977.
If you're one of those people, dear old Dennis Norden.
Dennis Norden, for those who don't know, he was a writer, wasn't he? He wrote lots of comedy.
Yeah, wireless stuff he used to write a lot of, didn't he?
Yeah. It's a bit like Barry Took. When I first heard of Barry Took, I just thought he was the guy off Points of View. And then of course,
so
later on I found out he was like an absolute legend and written loads of my favourite radio comedy. But
no, I'm exactly in the same school of thinking as you are. I used to think, who's this guy on telly? Barry Took, never heard of him. And then you see, the more you dig in, when you get older, you find out, blimey, he wrote a heck of a lot.
Yeah, and because he wrote like Round the Horn and things like that, didn't he?
He did do some Horn, he did do some Horn. He got the Horn, yeah.
Apparently, on the 19th of September, BBC schools and colleges changed to using the dots ident with rotating text.
Oh, wow, yeah. Do you remember sitting in school, cross-legged, watching the telly, watching the dots go out as it approaches your programme?
It says until 1978. I think that must be wrong, because the dots lasted for years.
The next programme will follow shortly.
Yeah, I'm going to have to explain this to listeners. So, schools and colleges, TV. It was sort of TV programs that teachers would record, and then if they didn't want to have to do much work one afternoon, they'd sit you in front of this. And
if they wanted to go down the pub, they'd put you in front of the telly.
And I guess it would have had to have been, particularly in the 80s, because you wouldn't have had, I don't know how you would have, unless you got the kids in front of it when it was, when they were actually at school and it was on when it was. I guess you could have watched it live, but I sort of feel we watched it on video, certainly at some point.
I think during the 70s they used to show the same programmes twice a week. I think it was twice or three times a week. It staggered during different times of the morning because they took over the mainstream TV, didn't they? In the mornings, this is what went out in the morning.
And these dots, listeners, they counted down about a minute before the show would start. So, and you'd be sitting there, or the class sort of sitting there watching as these dots slowly disappeared and in a clock sort of formation. But yeah, I don't know quite what it means about it. Changed. Yeah. Anyway. What else have we got? Do we want to know who the Director General of the BBC was in 1977?
Alistair Burt.
Well, apparently it had been Charles Cohen.
Duke Hussey.
Apparently it had been Charles Cohen. I don't know that name at all. And he was succeeded by Ian Trethowan. I don't know if I know him either.
I don't know him either. They made an impact on us at the time, clearly.
And in November the 13th, 1977, the final episode of Dad's Army. I'm getting to read.
Charles Hawtrey.
No, I'm getting to see these things. If I go, then I think it's interesting enough for the listeners to hear. 19th of November, Southern Television televises Sesame Street for the first time. Now that's quite, because that started in about 69 or sort of certainly late 60s. But that would explain if they I wonder if they literally started from the very first episode rather than jumping in, because I do remember watching Sesame Street and it always looked dated. So I think they probably were showing 70s episodes well into the 80s and things like that. All the sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I was about to say, do you remember the pinball machine?
Yeah, and all the sort of all those sort of the music things sounded very old-fashioned.
I think Sesame Street sort of is a worldwide thing, isn't it? Surely it must be.
I'm surprised it took so long for it to particularly as it had Muppets in, and Muppets were perhaps it's. I can tell you facts about Sesame Street. Yes, 1969. I think it gets a bit complicated. No, it does say, it says, oh, that's funny. My birthday. Well, not my birth. No, my birth date. Not my birthday. It's not the same year. November the 10th, 1969, until now. And there has been 4,591 episodes, 52 seasons. That'd be a big box set. I wonder if they would. Do you when as a TV fan, when you start wandering around on Wikipedia, do you look down the Wikipedia entry and think, oh, I wonder if they would exist? Is there any missing episodes?
I do. Yeah. I'm looking, because you said Muppets. I'm now looking at the wiki entry for the Muppet Show, and I'm looking at the Muppet Show from 1976 to 1981. Wow, and I'm thinking to myself, exactly that. Do they all exist? I'm sure there's a few actually that don't exist. Actually, isn't there?
I'm not sure. I guess I wouldn't think about the Muppets having missing episodes because that a little bit later. But you might be right. But with Sesame Street, with it being sort of that far back, but
Jack Parnell provided the music. Jack Parnell and his orchestra provided the music for the first season of The Muppet Show. Jack Parnell used to do the Dixon's Dock Green theme music, didn't he?
I mean, that's the thing. You almost forget that The Muppets was made in the UK. It's just sort of doesn't sort of Kermit the Frog feels so American. It's sort of hard to sort of remember that. Yes, of course.
He's the news reporter on Sesame Street, wasn't he? Hi ho, Kermit the Frog here. That was a very, very bad, and I do apologise for that. I can't do an American accent very well, he was the wearing the trench coat and the hat and the little press card sticking out of his pressman's hat, wasn't he? Carrying the big metal silver microphone. I remember that.
We nearly finished 1977, and I think when we do, Cromitty will be here with the tea. That's taken a very long time, Cromitty. I'm sorry, I got distracted. I was listening. It was fascinating. Oh, well, he knows how to butter me up. November 20th of November 1977, British TV premieres You Only Live Twice as well. So another Bond.
Wow.
And both the Mike Yarwood Christmas show and Morecambe and Wise Christmas show on BBC One attract an audience of more than 28 million, one of the highest ever in British television history. I mean, you just can't imagine any TV programme getting 28 million now.
You can't, can you? And especially Mike Yarwood. And this is me, just to remind you who I am, folks. He used to do that at the end, didn't he? And this is me, as if we didn't know.
I hope it is.
Morecambe and Wise were, they were timeless, I think, weren't they? They were very timeless. And are they an international thing, do you think, Morecambe and Wise? Or is it strictly a British thing?
I think so. Although they did try, those movies they made in the 60s, with
oh, Lord, no, they're terrible. You mean the Intelligence
I
Men?
wondered if they...
And the Riviera job.
To get an international audience, I'm not sure. I wonder if, sometimes if things are from the UK... I wonder if Canada or Australia used to show Morecambe and Wise, because they would...
I can imagine Australia would, because they bought a lot of our stuff, sort of 70s, didn't they?
But also, 31st December, that was... Well, it wasn't his last one, but it was Bruce Forsyth's last Generation game after 6 years, although, of course, he went back in the 90s.
Didn't he do well?
I don't think I really remember... I think I do remember the Generation game. How to describe that, listeners? Members of the public doing really strange...
You get some wet clay and you put it in your hands and you had to morph it into something.
I don't know whether that's a concept that went beyond... other countries did it, but I'm sure we could find out.
I think Generation Game is another stolen concept, isn't it? Because all the sort of things seem to work around the world in a different kind of way, like 3-2-1 did, Celebrity Squares. Yeah,
I was just trying to see if... well, that's right. The reason it was called Generation Game, I forgot. It's a British game show produced by the BBC in which 4 teams of 2 people from the same family but different generations compete to win prizes. But listeners, so like Warren was saying, you get somebody who was really good at making pots, and they'd come into the studio with the pots swirling round, and they'd show you in a few minutes, oh, beautiful pot. Then the contestants would have to have a go, and bits of clay flying left, right, and centre. And then the person who was the good pot maker would come on and say 5 out of 5 or 1 out of 5, and that's sort of how the
it was a staple, wasn't it? That we had science fiction, then we had Generation Game, then we had a little bit of drama, then we had news, and then we had a film. It was a very simple setup, and the BBC, with us having 3 channels here, just wiped the floor with the schedules, didn't they, with that very simple concept. Because it was a family concept, because once you finished watching your Doctor Who, then you're into your Generation Game, aren't you? And that's a family thing as well, because that was always pitched on so many different levels. Because to begin with, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and so you feel included in this audience, don't you? Brucey's talking to you, the boys and the girls, the youngsters. He's inviting us all in, so it's very family, and I think that's what sort of changed from the ITV.
I think we may have been the first country to sort of come up with the idea, and because it does say there are international versions. There was a Dutch version, a German version, there was a Swedish version, South African version, but they all sort of slightly later than our. So they must have copied us, which is unusual because things like Treasure Hunt that I like so much, that was us copying
the French, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh well, it's one of ours. I always remember Larry Grayson more. What I didn't realise was that it kind of got axed. It was still popular, but it was up against Game for a Laugh, which was another sort of bloopers show on ITV.
That's Candid Camera, really, a different name, wasn't it?
And apparently, so Larry Grayson decided to leave, but apparently Jimmy Tarbuck was offered the gig and turned it down, and then they decided not to bother anymore.
Jimmy Tarbuck was sort of those days. He was sort of a sort of cut-price game show host, isn't he? And he was a club performer as well. That's what he was known for, wasn't he? Saturday night at the Palladium.
They did bring it back in the 90s, and it ran for another 12 years. And then they've even done some sort of one-off revivals and things even since then. But Bruce Forsyth came back, and then Jim Davidson, but we don't mention him. So I don't even really remember him doing it.
No, I just remember him potting as many balls as he could on BBC Two with Big Break. Well, no, that's Pot Black, sorry. BBC One with Big Break. Is that a cup of tea I can smell?
Yes, it's coming. Apparently, the last thing, Emmerdale Farm moves from a daytime soap to a peak time soap.
Was it Was it a lunchtime? Must have been a lunchtime soap.
Yeah, I did sort of.
Never knew that.
And I think somewhere I did have. Somebody once bought me like a box set, and it probably is the daytime episodes, or at least some of them. And I was sort of in two minds about watching it because it's one of the few soaps I've never watched in any form. And I thought I'm a bit worried if I start watching it, I might end up wanting to watch like episodes that were on currently as well, or you know,
no.
I can sort of, you know, if I start something, I can get a bit fixated for a while on a old show, and you know, there's a lot of Emmerdale Farm to be hunting down if I did. So I did Crossroads. I actually, when Crossroads came back, I watched the revised, you know, the Naughties Crossroads, and that had its moments. And
Naughty Crossroads?
No, not in the Naughties. In the Naughties. No,
it was a late night.
Yeah,
the late night Crossroads. Shuey, the chef, was up to Naughties in the.
Benny took off his bobble hat.
Oh no! Put it away, Benny.
And I have watched
too big.
I have watched some of the Crossroads box sets that have come out, but yeah. It's dangerous getting into old soaps, but I've got enough Australian ones to watch. But anyway, our tea, listeners, our tea is about to come. Talking about old TV, we've got a Sutton Park clip for you now. Goodness knows what will be going on in it. We probably didn't know when we were making it. So you have a listen to this. Warren and I will drink our tea, then we'll come back and we'll finish off these boxes and maybe pick one more year to discuss before we have to go down to the charity shop. But yes, bring the tea in from a tea. Here comes Sutton Park, listeners.
Meanwhile, elsewhere, in the tunnel in Highgate, once part of the beach's archives, now locked up for good, and the creature inside it, well, locked in as well, at least for now. But elsewhere, and so as Bakov hurries off to carry his side of the plan out, Basil heads not back for Camberley to find Paul, but to find his daughter. Where are you going? It's the narrator.
I'm going this way.
You're trying to find Lisa?
Yeah.
She's doing that play of hers?
Looks like it.
Oh, where is she?
Good question.
You're just trying to find and make sure that Backoff's not done anything nasty.
That's right, yeah.
But I thought you were going off to get Paul.
I'll get Paul in a minute. I know where Paul is. I can jaunt there.
Oh.
I have to find these people physically. And it's bloody annoying, let me tell you.
They must be around here somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. Can't you take an eraser's eye view and scan the area?
Oh, I don't know. Who's supposed to be there? All those people who were doing in that...
Yeah, they're going to be making an absolute racket, arguing about absolutely all sorts. They're not going to be easy to miss, but I've missed them somewhere.
You think Backoff might have lied, don't you? You think he might have done something to her?
I think he might have done something to her based on past history.
Oh, I do hope not. I wonder where she is. Look! Look, over there! There they are, Basil! There they are! There they are, Basil! Basil? Basil! Fair enough. I suppose them lot would scare anyone away. Meanwhile, elsewhere... Well... Mummy... Can you walk? We should not remain here. We should continue onwards. It is not wise for us to remain here. Do you understand me? Do you understand? We should move on. We shall find somewhere safe for you to rest. I shall get you help. I will get you help. Do you understand? But we must move away from here. Okay? Right. Answer me. Can you move?
Yes, I can move. It isn't head hurt. Back up, father. Tail hurt. It pride. I move to safety. You care, Yorick. Please help me help Mummy. Move on.
Come along. Come along, we shall sort you out. It is time. Time to see what develops. On the dawn of 2000. Who shall survive it? The mummy is mind twisted. But elsewhere, John has his own mind slowly destroyed as he learns the truth. Where they got to?
Oh, should be around here somewhere. Oh, I don't know.
Are you sure he's not Barlow? You just like him. Or he's not Barlow. That is Owen, his twin brother. Tell me, what became of Barlow? Tell me, Jay, what became of him? You know him. Paul knows. Paul knows. I want you to tell me. What became of the child? How long did he stay with you? We want to know everything, G. Tell me where he is. I don't want to hurt you, but if you don't tell me, I may have to. John, Barlow's dead. Did he say? Barlow, my brother? Did he say my brother is dead? Oh. It's true. I told you. It wasn't our fault. It wasn't our fault. He came to live with us. He came to live with us and you got killed. John, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault, John, listen to me. It wasn't my fault. He's dead. At last we know. At last we know what became of him. It wasn't my fault. At least we know now. Come, Owen. Come along. It's time we left.
It wasn't my fault. It isn't my fault. Hey, Jay, what's going on? Phantom. Oh, Ramesses. Hey, what's going on, eh? What's going on? Isn't that John and his little kid or what's wrong, Jay? No, it's John. It's all about Marlowe. You remember Marlowe? What? Oh yeah, I think so. What about him? John's nephew, Owen, was Marlowe's twin brother, and Marlowe was my friend, and he got killed by us, in the park and stuff, and now he blames me, and it's a long story. Oh, blimey, Jay. Come on, let's get you back to the library. I'll sort you out. Don't worry. Oh dear. Come on. Oh, don't worry. No, my fault. Oh, no, don't worry. Come on. I'll get him on his own at some point. I'll teach him a lesson. Hello. Oh dear. Well, things aren't going too well with the house hunting, I'm afraid. Thought we had a place and I seem to have lost it. Anyway, what was I looking? Oh. What's this? There's none such park as none such. See you there, Paul. Basil, I should have known. He's been in here. How does he get in here? The door is very well locked. None such park. Basil has gone to none such park, and for some strange reason he wants me to go there. Something to do with Lisa, maybe? Oh, I suppose I'm going to have to investigate. I'll call the others and see if I can arrange something. See you later. Uncle John. He's still on the phone. He's just got a phone call with Alright. Yeah, just a minute, Owen. I'm just talking to Pa. Hello, Pa. I see. So you've got to head there. You know, yes. You wanted to leave a message saying that, yeah. Why didn't I come and join you? Yeah. Tell the other suspects so, yeah. I'll come and join you. Yeah. We'll come and find you. None such part. Right, okay. Very good. Goodbye. Right. Go along, Owen. We've got work to do. Hey, John. Hey, John, what's going on? John, what's going on? Or, Paul, so when there's none such park, you might need our help. I suggest you follow us. Hey, listen, I got to talk to you about... Oh, I haven't got time. Come on. All right, come on. All right, Uncle. Come on. Don't worry about it. No, go on. I'll help Paul. Oh, we're going where? I'm such... He wouldn't even speak to us. John, it wasn't my fault. Right, no way, he won't hear you. So we gotta go with him. Sounds like Paul could be in danger. We gotta go and help him, haven't we? I suppose so. I wasn't my fault. I didn't do it myself, and he's not talking to me. Alright, don't worry. He's taking this badly. I can understand it, but I hope we don't do something stupid. Come on, we gotta make sure he's safe as well as Paul.
Well, that was a wonderful trip of Sutton Park. We really enjoyed watching that. Now, we've had our tea. Now, Yeti Uncle John has volunteered to take... We've got a box of keeps, we've got a box of ones that need to go to the charity shop, and Yeti Uncle John has volunteered to take them so that Warren doesn't have to... He can get...
is this going to be...
Oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Hello, Yeti Uncle John.
I know you need to get back. We don't want to keep you longer than needed. I can...
You've left a button undone on your trousers.
Oh, sorry.
Yeti Uncle John. You don't want to go out there like that.
Oh, good. Thanks for mentioning. I've been trying to, get back into driving a bit because I've got some ideas. But anyway, Anyway, I'll let you. You still got some to do, haven't you?
No. How many wheels on your car? You still got that 3-wheel car?
Yeah. No, he's giving you a look, but yeah, I'm not sure.
If the wind changes, it'll stay like it.
It might be an improvement, but yes, he has mentioned driving. I don't. Anyway, let's not worry about it too much. So yeah, what else have we got in this box? We're nearly done, listeners. We've just got one or two more. Is there anything else in there you like the look of? Actually, I was going to ask you: is there anything any TV show that people love, like the general public love, that you just... I don't mean like Strictly Come Dancing or X Factor. That's a bit too obvious. All those reality shows, they're a bit obvious. But I was thinking of like proper TV shows, whether it be a sitcom or a drama, more that sort of thing. But is there anything that people go on about which you have seen and you're like, why? I don't understand why people love this show. I can think of one or two that I, for one reason or another, I just avoid.
Are you guiding me towards On the Buses?
Some of the 70s sitcoms are questionable for so many reasons. Yeah,
yes.
But I'm thinking. I guess I'm thinking of. Some people love, say, Only Fools and Horses, and
I see. I never get Only Fools and Horses.
I know.
I used to like it when they had Grandad, but when Uncle Albert, isn't it? Yeah, I just didn't get it. Didn't feel the love. Didn't feel the love for it.
It starts going a bit Carla Laney and gets a bit serious as well, I think.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Carla Lane stuff can get so heavy.
Bread. I don't think.
Bread.
I feel like it might have been on before something else I watched. So I feel I've seen lots of ends of episodes.
Yeah, but that was a very depressing thing because there was. I find Carla Lane stuff can be very dark, and there seems to be no way back from the darkness. But Only Fools, I liked the early stuff of Only Fools, but I just didn't warm to the rest of it, I'm afraid, and that sounds really bad. A bit like Dad's Army as well. I like some of the latter stuff of Dad's Army, but I'm not a great Dad's Army fan.
I had a period, probably around the time that DVDs were coming in, but not quite there, because I feel that Dad's Army, I didn't buy the whole set, but I started getting interested in Dad's Army maybe in the late 90s, and I bought quite a few tapes that were released then. Perhaps in those days there was only like 3 or 4 per episodes per tape, but they were probably best of compilations. So I'd avoided Dad's Army for many years, but I did actually sort of dip in for a while. But because I think most of what I bought was on videotape rather than DVD, and I didn't sort of end up... I sort of enjoyed what I saw, but I didn't really feel like updating what I had, and probably now I don't own any of it again. But if there's any Dad's Army in the box, I guess I might take it out. But I haven't seen any yet. But I tell you about Only Fools and Horses. I would rather watch Minder than Only Fools and Horses, and I know there's a difference.
Oh, Lord. That's the difference between sticking something in your nose, sticking something up your nose, or sticking something in your ear that's very sharp.
Well, I prefer Minder because it's not a comedy show, it's a drama show.
Minder's the same. Minder's just the same. No, it's the same episode every week. It's the same episode every week.
Yeah, I probably would find that. That's why I probably avoided but I have been tempted. That's in my Amazon wish list. I have considered it, but I've thought I'll probably get it and I'd watch 3 or 4 and then I would never watch it again because I probably would find it was too samey. But
it's like To the Manor Born. I can't stand To the Manor Born. I like Peter Bowles as an actor, but I can't warm to either of the characters in To Your Manor Born because they're all so snooty.
Yeah, I think that I do remember watching that with my parents, and I probably did like it more. But certainly, I mean, I don't find I watch comedy as much as, or go back to comedy as much as shows that I was really so much into comedy, like when I was a teenager in 20s, and but these days I rarely watch, sort of pick up a comedy show and watch it, which is kind of weird to me, really. I don't know if it's because everything I do creatively is so silly that I've had enough of silly, and so I go towards. I mean, I'd watch a comedy drama because at least it's got the drama in it. But
I quite like the thick of it, though. What do you think of the thick of it?
I don't think I've seen every episode, but I've definitely seen quite a few. I think
Peter Capaldi stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen the season that I'm most familiar with is the one where there's is it a female MP who comes into it? So I think that's probably maybe the last season or later on in the show. So I don't know whether that's. I don't know whether it's considered to be good all the way through, or whether some seasons are supposed to be better.
Yeah, I think. I think the latter season, because it's had such a build-up, it's worked so well, and it's definitely not Yes Minister with lots of swearing. It's a bit more than that, isn't it? And it's not just about Peter Capaldi's character either, is it? It's just interesting how toxic an environment can be.
Yes, Prime Minister, I definitely remember watching with my parents. I think I remember watching Just Good Friends as well, which I definitely I don't think I've ever seen that again since Just Good Friends was really about a couple, wasn't it? Who were kind of did they
get married in the end?
I think they probably
get married in the end. Yeah, John Ringham was their father-in-law, wasn't he?
It was Paul Nicholas and a lady. I did.
And I was going to say Michelle Pfeiffer. That's totally wrong.
Not Michelle Pfeiffer. No.
Good Lord, no.
The BBC would have had the budget.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to have to look this up now.
You look it up.
Keep talking. Just Good Friends.
I mean, things like
Jan Francis. I even look it up, it's Jan Francis.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Stu Francis' sister. She could crush a grape.
Is it really? Or are you joking?
No, I don't know.
I wasn't sure if I should trust you.
Don't do that, listeners.
The Good Life is a funny one because I probably saw various episodes, not necessarily at the time, probably like in an 80s repeat, but certainly probably had never seen every episode. And then we bought the box set, and I then did see it in order. And I was quite surprised because there were 1 or 2 episodes that were really quite dark, and wasn't my. Tom goes to jail in one episode, and they also their house gets vandalised, and I really found it really upsetting, and kind of that's one of the last episodes.
Well, another series, really good, successful comedy series like that was One Foot in the Grave, wasn't it? Because that had a tendency to be rib-ticklingly funny. And it could turn on a coin, couldn't it, to something really dark.
And the funny thing is...
really sad.
The funny thing is listeners will know that I've been reading extracts from my 1990 diary, which I unearthed and didn't realise I'd written. But some of the things that have interested me most coming back to it is that I mention shows. I mentioned, I watched this show called One Foot in the Grave, and I checked, and yes, the first episode was in January 1990, and I was quite pleased with myself that I did mention the TV I watched, because I was sort of talking about what season of Bergerac I'd watched, and I was like, I mentioned that they killed off the character Susan, played by Louise Jameson, who played Leela in Doctor Who, and also, funnily enough, is now a regular in Emmerdale Farm. Apparently, I'm not that I've seen.
She?
Yeah. So yeah, all these things connect. But yeah, I mentioned. And I was like, oh, yes, that's right. That's when that episode went out. So my diary has been sort of reminding me about that. Where do you stand with things like Red Dwarf? I have a problem with Red Dwarf.
I have a problem with Red Dwarf. It just doesn't sit too well in my liking. See, I've never really warmed to Red Dwarf.
I never did. I think partly it was popular with people our age when it was out, which was always a no-no if it was a popular show. Also, it was around the time that it was at its height of popularity, around the time that Doctor Who came off the air, and you also got sort of people sort of saying, "Oh well, why do you need Doctor Who? You've got Red Dwarf." Like it's the same sort of program. I mean, it's nothing like. Also, all the characters being egomaniacs. I've always very alpha male characters. I've never got on well with that. Was also a negative for me. I even got to the stage where I would watch it because I didn't want to turn around and criticise it, not having seen it. But so I mean, I've given up doing that now because I thought it was over. But it comes back now and again. I don't bother now, but yeah,
I watched it because mainly people were talking about it, and I didn't want to be sort of left out of the conversation or sit there sillily and go, "Oh, I don't watch that." But I never really. No, after a while, I tired of it. It didn't seem to have any kind of vroom in it.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody in our group of friends sort of said, "Well, it could be set anywhere. The fact it's in space is almost irrelevant. It's sort of they've just kind of decided to set it in space because they thought that would get a different group of a demographic of viewer because who'd think, oh, it's science fiction, but actually it could be set in a block of flats and just be about some."
Well, did you think it went? I think it went on too long.
Yeah.
I think, and every so often they dig it up and revive it again, don't they?
They still seem to, but I think we've almost done everything in the books. We've definitely kept. There's a few we've both kept, but a majority of it's going to charity. But I think we should choose another year from the Wikipedia. What year would you like this time?
Okay. 1983.
The episodes. This is how my mind works. I've just finished watching 1983 episodes of Sons and Daughters, and listeners, this is, and I'm sure Warren's the same, or would be the same, or he could understand. Some of you out here won't understand this, but I'm watching episodes that were shown in 84, but the copyright date at the end still says 83, and at the end of each episode I have to sit because I'm thinking, oh, when's the first one going to move over to 84? Even though
I do that, yes, I do that,
and it's not happened yet. I've watched about what must be weeks, and we must be well into 84, and it still says copyright date 83. But and I'm like, I'm gonna. There'll be, if you hear somebody cheering in the background, in a few days' time, it's because I finally got to the point where it's moved over. It doesn't matter. But it's the sort of thing that interests me, so let's have a look and see. I thought you'd understand.
Yeah.
Right, in 1983 in British TV, there was some controversial TV on Channel 4.
Never.
That made the Conservatives get hot under the collar and tried to have the channel banned. So that must have been good. Do you remember when they had? I don't know if I ever saw it. Didn't they used to have a little red triangle? Was it Channel 4? They had
That's
that.
Right.
If it was going to be a bit sexy.
Yeah. If it's going to be a bit rumpy pumpy time.
Yeah. And so that just makes people want to kind of
I will watch that. Yeah. But that was also a very, very good ploy for getting people to tune in, as you say, isn't it? So, this could be a bit raunchy, a bit sweaty under the sheets.
Apparently on the 3rd of January 1983, Children's ITV premiered. I think they'd already had something called Watch It, but that's when Children's ITV became branded like that. Superman the movie aired on ITV, a British premiere. So that was from...
Bless him.
Wasn't that from 78? So that's
78, Chris Reeves, isn't it? Yeah. Bless his heart.
So that's like...
Lovely man was Chris Reeves. I've always liked him as an actor.
Because Margot Kidder, I see her more because I have my annual watching of Black Christmas, and she plays one of the best characters in that. So, there's a scene where cause she's sort of it's a little bit foreshadowing, unfortunately, but she plays the most drunk of the sort of sorority girls, and there's one scene where they're at a children's Christmas party, and she's talking to other characters, and she's just kind of pouring booze down his child's throat, basically, or kind of like just pouring the glass and handing it, and the child's just knocking back the cherries. You wouldn't get that these days, but it's a great scene.
Fantastic.
TVAM was it launched in February.
Did it have the giant egg at the end, didn't it, in the egg cup?
And then as the years went on, there were more eggs with different years.
That's it, yeah.
Channel 4 becomes the first broadcaster in the UK to screen the Super Bowl live. I didn't even know they ever had, or that it had ever been broadcast, or whether is that something that still happens.
Yeah, it's a Channel 4 thing. That was a Channel 4 thing, I can remember, and that they were trailing the Super Bowl, yeah. Cheers,
the sitcom.
Yes.
That made its debut on Channel 4.
The place where everyone knows your name.
I don't know where. I wonder when did that start then? That started
late 70s, wasn't it? When in the States.
No, 82. So I guess we got it relatively quickly then, because that's early in 83 we got it, and it started the previous autumn. So we probably got it. Yeah, that was pretty speedy. There is a reference to Sons and Daughters. The Australian soap Sons and Daughters makes its British television debut in 83 when Central becomes the first region to screen it, and the other ITV regions followed suit. So, yeah, I in a way I wasn't sure. I didn't watch it until a lot later than that, and I think TVS, our region, sort of was still showing it in the early 90s. I remember rushing home from school when I was in the sixth form, still in about 1990 or 91, and it was still being shown. But whether they didn't show as many episodes as were screened, because it was only about a year after it started in Australia. But I think I just thought that soap operas were the sort of things that mums watched, and I think, to be fair, a lot of people think that, but little did I know about all of the villains and backstabbing and people having facelifts to look like other people and things. But,
do you think Australian soap operas then are better than any other country's soap operas?
I think so, because often I find that British soaps can be, or certainly of that era, can be a bit. Oh look, they're throwing football over my fence. Oh, okay. And yes, every year there might be a big, like if somebody gets run over by a tram, but a lot of it is very sort of just people bickering and yet American soaps are glamorous, but almost too glamorous for me. And it's about business, and it feels like it's about business. Whereas there is business involved in Sons and Daughters, but you never see offices. They never do it in They always seem to be, they
never do it in offices.
Well, they never have. You never have.
Yeah.
I can think of like Joan Collins marching into Blake's office, and and it's all offices, and I don't remember. There's not a lot of offices in Sons and Daughters. There's lots of business going on, but it usually involves drinking a pint.
It's very ground to earth, isn't it? Very grounded, Sons and Daughters.
Yeah. Well, you've got the sort of. The good thing about that is that you've got. It is literally a mixture of perhaps a British soap and an American soap, in that you've got some rich families and you've got some working class families, and they sort of cross-pollinate. And somebody said the other day I read, if you took
the seed,
basically you could have knocked out like 5 years worth of TV, because two characters. Somebody said basically Sons and Daughters is about this character. Basically, they swap wives, and at the end, these two men have each other's wives, and that isn't what the show's about. But it is quite largely. It could have all been sorted out right at the start if they'd have just swapped the people they were going out with. We wouldn't have had to go through 5 years. I think it would have been a shame to have missed it there, but. What else have we got? Oh gosh, I don't know if I want to talk about this, but there's that program Mini Pops on Channel 4, which was.
Oh no, let's not talk about that. No,
it's like little kids.
Unfortunately, I remember that, and I think I saw a little bit of it, and even I thought it was creepy then.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw it at the time or saw it afterwards, because I don't even know quite when we got Channel 4 here. Because
I think we'd better explain that Mini Pops was
little kids,
a program in which very young children were dressed up in full makeup and
lip sync to pop songs.
Yes, but they were wearing the outrageous outfits that the pop singers are wearing, and it was wrong. Even watching it was just. Then I just felt uncomfortable and I couldn't watch anymore because it was just it was wrong.
Also, February '83 when Postman Pat was launched, and my brother was born in '82. So when I think of what
was he delivered by Postman Pat?
Yes, he was. His era of TV, of like little kid TV, was Postman Pat, Thomas the Tank Engine. When he was a little bit older, he loved Thundercats. And I was too old for all of those by that point. But
I liked Thomas the Tank Engine because I had the books.
Yeah.
So even at the age of sort of 12, 13, I'd still watch Ringo Starr doing the voiceover for Thomas the Tank Engine.
At least I would have known that was something that I would have known the books a bit from when I was a kid, but before there was a TV. Deirdre Barlow, he was when they were doing Will She, Won't She, Deirdre Barlow makes the choice to break up with Mike Baldwin and reunite with Ken.
Is that where they had the punch up?
Yeah, is that when they're shouting for the letterbox, or is that the other way around? Is that when he leaves? Is that when the opposite end of the story? On the 2nd and 9th of April, 2 issues of the Radio Times failed to be published due to industrial action. So if you're somebody who's collecting copies of the Radio Times from 1983, don't worry when you can't find it.
You're still waiting for your copy.
Oh, I can't find it. Angela Rippon is mentioned.
Again? She never blooming stops working, this woman.
Angela Rippon and Anna Ford were axed from TV AM in April.
To make way for 15 other jobs.
Yeah. That comedy show Al Fresco with Robbie Coltrane, Ben Elton, Stephen Fry, Hugh Laurie, Siobhan Redmond and Emma Thompson. I think I might have that at home.
Siobhan Redmond. Oh, I always had a thing for Siobhan Redmond.
Cause she's from Taggart. When I think of, although she did do, I'm right to say she was in Taggart, wasn't she?
No, she was in Bullman.
Oh, Bullman, yes, yeah. But she did do a lot of comedy.
Yes,
but I sort of always thought of her as doing sort of silly things, serious things.
She is. She's a very serious actress. She's just very flexible in certain parts.
In late May, Len Fairclough made his last appearance on Coronation Street. Peter Adamson.
Didn't he die of a heart attack and they wrote him out?
Yeah, just
because he was a bit of a heavy drinker, wasn't he?
It says he makes his last appearance, but doesn't say why. Oh no, he didn't die till 2002.
No? Perhaps I got it wrong then. Because he always reminds me of my least favourite actor.
Who's that?
Glyn Owen. Him of, they stole him up bloody boat.
Oh dear. July 1983 was when they showed that. June 83 was when the first episode of Blackadder was shown. And July 83 was when they showed The Mad Death, which was about...
Oh, no, that's a horrible series. Yes, I saw that first time round. Did you?
I didn't, but I did. I feel like it was around the time that my parents often went off like when my dad was members of things like Chamber of Commerce and all that sort of thing, and so they went down. I used to have babysitters, and I certainly sneaked the TV on, and I saw enough. I saw like somebody having a horrible seizure, and it really scared me. And then around the same time, we used to go on holiday to the Channel Islands, and obviously from the Channel Islands you can go on boat trips. And I remember as you got up seeing signs about rabies, and I knew what that was, and I was really sort of I think I was really a bit nervous about dogs, and anyway, because of being a cat person and having had a few bad experiences with dogs, so I didn't see it, but it definitely messed me up a bit. What I did see, what little I saw of it.
So it did mess me up a bit as well. Yes, I didn't like that series at all.
I've not gone back to it. I've not. I know it's on DVD now, but
I have it. I bought it, and I watched it, and that's it. I only want to see it once. I never want to see it again.
I feel like that about When the Wind Blows, that cartoon about the nuclear war.
See, I've never seen that. I've always been put off programs about the nuclear war ever since I watched War Games.
I haven't seen War Games, but
no, don't.
No, I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was worse because it was in cartoon form, and because
it's Raymond Briggs, isn't it?
And because the character is a big sort of nana sort of, and it's just a couple, and it's just horrible. I don't want to see it again.
Does Father Christmas turn up and go, it's this blooming Christmas again?
I think it would have. I think it really needs that, or the snowman to come past.
Oh no, I don't think I can remember it being shown on Channel 4, and I didn't watch it because I just thought because the 80s were a terrible time for nuclear proliferation on the television, really, wasn't it? All these programs like Threads and The Day After. Oh God, it was so depressing, wasn't it? Oh, we're going to have some mutually assured destruction, and you're like sat there going, "Oh, can we not watch?" And that's when we had alternative comedy, and we desperately needed something different. And I think that helped. The Ben Eltons of this world, and this Fry and Laurie's.
I mean, it's weird. I love my horror films, but when it's like real life horror, no thank you. Slasher is fine when it's a slasher running around with a mask and things. But when it's something like that, no thank you. August '83, ITV broadcast Wooden Top. Now, do you know?
Oh,
you know what Wooden Top is?
The pilot episode of The Bill. Yes, with Mark Wingett.
Yeah.
Yes,
I do remember. I was quite into The Bill in maybe like 91, or I watched it quite regularly when it was it was on quite a lot, but it felt like Casualty. I used to like Casualty when it was on.
Yeah, I used to like the first few seasons of Casualty, and then it became a bit.
And The Bill was like that, wasn't it? The early Bill was like 50-minute episodes. I remember somebody I know had the early seasons of The Bill, which probably wasn't released on DVD, but this was before all that. But
they had one. Yeah, they had a video release because I went to the Thames television shop, which was in the ground floor of Thames Television on Warren Street in London when it was still there, and I went in specifically to buy this DVD, to be told they no longer printed it, and it was 3 50-minute episodes of The Bill, and I came out with a couple of jumpers with Thames Television written on them. I remember that so clearly, but I was so happy the fact that I'd actually got into the Thames Television building and went to their shop. I was really excited about that.
Apparently the 27th and 28th of August, BBC Two rocks around the clock by broadcasting non-stop music programmes all day and also all night. I don't really remember that happening at all. Also, the following day, 29th of August, Blockbusters was launched.
Hey!
And I didn't realise it was sixth form students. That probably explains... somebody we know, somebody called Danny, who Warren and I knew back in the early 90s, was on Blockbusters.
Was he?
He was, yes. He did quite well as well. In fact, it was around the time that I wasn't seeing so much of him because we'd all gone to university. It was probably shown after he'd left School money, and I videoed it, and I used it as extra appearances on Sutton Park. I worked it into a Sutton Park plotline to give him more appearances. I used to have a wall chart of all the people who were in episodes, and over the years there were more than 40 people, but I had a top 40 appearances list, and I think Mr. T, Troby, he was always happy as long as he was in the top 10. He was worried if he dropped out of the top 10. But.
Oh, he's an old lovey. That's what he is, isn't he? As soon as he gets in front of the camera, away he goes.
He was always good. He was always good turning up with. He was
always a good turn.
But he always had like bits of computer. Bit like broken computers that he could bring
hanging out of him,
and they could stick it all together in his house, and we could just make it some gadget that he'd made. It was always good. Animated series Henry's Cat was debuted.
Oh wow!
ITV broadcast Killer, but it would later be turned into a series and retitled Taggart.
Oh, was it called Killer? I have to write that down.
The pilot
episode.
Yeah, I didn't know that. He-Man.
And the Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, apparently. He-Man and Riley Ace of Spies debuted on the same day.
Sam Neill, Riley Ace of Spies, isn't it? Whatever happened to him?
Banana Man as well.
Goodness me!
Lots of animated. Next they'll be telling me that Danger Mouse, but not quite. I think Danger Mouse is slightly earlier, but
I think is that 81 or 82? You used to live in a pillar box on Baker Street
in those days.
We
talked about her earlier.
That pillar box.
Yeah, we talked about.
Only a room for one more on top.
Yeah, we talked about her earlier. Doris Speed makes her last appearance as Annie Walker on Coronation Street in October 1983. The seventh season of Dallas was aired. The final edition of Sale of the Century was broadcast. And Auf Wiedersehen Pet debuted. This is all November 1983.
That launched a lot of careers. And interpreters did a lot of money out of that, especially when Jimmy Nail attempted to speak. Why I been?
No, there is a Danger Mouse fact.
Well, go on.
ITV's animated series Danger Mouse viewing figures reached 21.59 million.
What?
An all-time high for a British children's programme.
Wow.
That must have been students watching it as
well. Barbaroni. Love
Danger
the crow
Mouse.
in that.
I'm not going to explain Danger Mouse. Listeners, if you don't know Danger Mouse, find out about it.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah, 1981, September 81. So yeah, probably had been around long enough to get a bit of a student following by then.
He's definitely student fare, because I suppose he would have been at the end of children's ITV, and then we would have gone into Blockbusters where they do that awful.
They said things like Teletubbies were student fodder, but I think that's students who
they
smoke
need
too
medical
much.
attention.
At least Danger Mouse is actually a clever program and a good program. It's not like adults watching something that really is made for kids. On the 25th of November 1983, the BBC airs The Five Doctors, a 90-minute episode of Doctor Who made to celebrate its 20th anniversary.
Never saw it.
That's not true. The music video for Thriller was shown on Channel 4. Oh, and The Fog, John Carpenter's Fog from 1980 made its debut on BBC One. So that's only taken 3 years to get. On
I wouldn't have thought it would have gone on the BBC. You see, I would have thought that was sort of a Channel 4-ish film, but yeah. I like The Fog, although it gets a very bad... He doesn't like it, and it's not as good as Halloween. But yeah, I quite like The Fog.
Yeah, no, we like The Fog. So yes, there's lots of other things we should talk about, but I think we need to. We've made our final decisions, and
yes, we've got our piles, haven't we?
We have. Yeti Uncle John's going to whisk them off. Anyway, Warren, thank you for picking up these.
It's been a pleasure. I don't want Yeti Uncle John to strain his back when he lifts that
fine.
box. Are you sure he'll be all right?
Yeah, he'll be all right. And I'll get you another cup of tea before you go.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
But listeners, we're going to say goodbye now, though, because tea drinking's a serious business, and we'll see you again soon. And Warren, I hope you'll come back. I think we can talk about more years in TV and stuff as well. So
it's been an absolute fun, really has. Thank you very much, listeners, for having me. It's nice to be had.
Yes, and we'll speak to you again soon. All right, bye for now. Bye bye. Went really well, Warren.
You sure?
Yes. When we were drinking our tea, Yeti Uncle John nipped in. I'm surprised he didn't come and say hello, but...
Yeah. Perhaps he's...
I think...
Where's the other box?
Oh, my goodness. Paul, what's wrong? He's taken the wrong box. He's taken the box we wanted to keep. And he left the ones we wanted to... he's only just... Look, he's just driving out to the car park now.
It's full of episodes of It's a Knockout.
Oh, we don't want those. Or do we want those? I can't remember. But we might do. Look, I've got a great idea. What is it, Paul? We need to follow that car. Warren, you can drive.
Oh, yes.
Let's go and have a big. Let's go and have a big chase sequence. And I can hear the theme music coming, but we'll have a big chase sequence, and we'll get that box of DVDs back. If the last thing we do.
Shakes fist.
I gotta go now.
Goodbye, 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 goodbye.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
Oh dear. What's going on now?
Oh, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Let's go.
I have a voice. I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice. We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net.
Oh, dear Yeti Uncle John. What an idiot you are. That's not very nice. I don't like being called an idiot. I just misunderstood what box I was supposed to take and what box I was supposed to not take.
Yeti Uncle John, I have never seen a three-wheel car go so fast over speed bumps.
Oh,
I really haven't.
It's souped up. It's souped up. It can go faster than it appears to. Listeners, I'm so sorry. You must have missed the chase sequence. Oh, what a shame. It was really, really dramatic. There was Yeti Uncle John.
He was tearing down the dotted line.
Yeah, he was.
Definitely.
Warren's driving very, very, very good, and he, and there was Cromitty had his head out one side, and I had my head out the other side, and Dealey was Dealey was on top of the car going meow, meow, meow. It was wonderful. Yeti Uncle John.
It's like an episode of the Sweeney, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yes, Uncle John, what? You didn't stop, though. Well, you weren't a police car. You were just a car with a cat on top. Well, yes, but Deanie did a very good impression of a siren.
It was a catalytic converter.
Oh, very good. Well, it's all sorted. You didn't lose your DVDs. I've got the right one. I've got the right box now, and you can take your gems, whatever, treasures. They're treasures, not gems.
Everyone's and we'll swap it for this box. You can take this box and burn it.
Yes. Just as long as there's no missing episodes of anything. I don't think Milo had a store of any missing episodes. That would be awful. But
what's this Fury from the Deep at the bottom? Don't worry about it. He's mislabelled that.
That's mislabelled. Oh, well, we better go. Oh, yes, Uncle John. That was... You nearly ruined a good day's work there. Oh, I feel you should be very ungrateful. Well, at least we got some action. It's just a shame the listeners didn't get to fully appreciate the car chase, but oh well.
There's nothing like a bit of action to make it. Yeti, Uncle John, I have to say, I was impressed with your driving. I was, especially when you were on two wheels going around that corner.
Well, I did train briefly as a stunt driver, but I trained, but nobody actually ever asked me to be on any films. But still,
you can't imagine why.
Oh dear, Yeti Uncle John. Dear, oh dear. We've just got to let one go home now, I think. Dear, oh dear.
It's too much excitement. Too
much excitement. Dear, oh dear. Listeners, you need to sit down. Sit down.
Hello.
Usually I do the theme tune for the year, but I sort of said, if you'd be up for doing a theme tune, give him a slightly different challenge. If I'd have realised that he was going to do it and have it ready by the next day, I would have probably asked him in November, and he could have been the theme tune for this year. But I told him in about January or February when I was at the start of the 500s, and then I couldn't get rid of the new theme already, but that does mean that I've got my theme for 2023 all in the can.
Wow, that's really organised.
And I've even sort of, because I sort of changed the voices a little bit, slowly it evolves and things drop out and new things come on. And you'll have to go on the theme music next year, or sometime. I'll have to keep my ears open for something that you say that I can take out of context.
I like that. Yeah.
You quite like a big bang, don't you?
536.
536.
536. 500.
Oh, heavens to Murgatroyd.
536. 536. 536.
Has anyone seen my hot sausage?